Hey guys, we have a super powerful full moon in Leo and Aquarius coming in tonight, 10:47 p.m. This is the first of two full moons that we're having on the Leo and Aquarius axis this cycle, and this is really about bringing power back to the people, empowering humanity. Welcome back to my channel. My name is Aubrey. Today is Friday, July 23rd, 2021, and this is my video for the full moon in Leo and Aquarius that's happening tonight. So there's a lot going on with this full moon. There's a lot of energetic impacts that it's going to be having on all of us collectively. First, let's start by talking about the general meanings of Leo and Aquarius, that axis, that dynamic, and then I'm going to talk about a lot of other stuff that's going on with this full moon. But first off, Leo and Aquarius. This is about our personal creative power and how that fits into the whole. It's also about the collective of humanity and the elite, the rulership class. It is where it's about bringing power back to the people, like I said, and it's also about empowering humanity. Whenever we're talking about Leo and Aquarius, it's like, where do we shine? Where do we have our talent? What do we create from our authentic, individual, creative self-expression? And how does that fit into the overall whole, the overall good, the overall benefit of humanity? How can we use our unique individual, personal, creative abilities to contribute to the overall collective whole? That's sort of the dynamic that we're talking about when we're thinking about Leo and Aquarius. And again, it also has a lot to do with like the elite and the kings, the queens, the rulership classes, and the public, the masses of humanity, the great collective. This is the dynamic that we're talking about when we're talking about Leo and Aquarius. And we have, like I said, two full moons in Leo and Aquarius this cycle, and that is very rare. They're called actually blue moons when there's two full moons that fall in the same sign in one cycle. You know that phrase, like once in a blue moon? That's what this is referring to, when there's two full moons that fall in one sign during one cycle. And this happens in one sign every 12 years. And it's interesting because we know that this year with the new moon in Aries was sort of like our entrance, stepping into the age of Aquarius. And that same year is the 1 in 12 years when we have two full moons falling in Leo and Aquarius. So this full moon is opening a window that is all about helping humanity step back into their personal power, to take their personal power back from rulership, leadership, king and queen type situations, classes, and it goes right along with what we're doing right now anyways, which is going through this collective journey, this collective process of coming back into our own personal power based on our own unique authenticity and cultivating that within us and really stepping into that and basing our lives around it. And that is how this transition into the age of Aquarius is going to unfold, is going to happen. And it's definitely being activated with this window that's opening right now, and we're going to be having two of these full moons talking specifically about re-empowering humanity. Now, another big feature of this first full moon in Leo and Aquarius is the degree placement of where it's happening. This full moon is happening at 1 degree and 26 minutes of Leo and Aquarius. I look at that as 2 degrees of Leo and Aquarius because when I read astrology, I read it in terms of the Sabian symbols, which are a collection of symbols that represent each and every one of the 360 degrees of the zodiac. They describe that particular energetic in a picture form so that we sort of can get a better idea of what each and every degree represents, emanates, resonates to, so that whenever a planet is at those degrees, it gives us more information, helps us understand better the underlying rationale of the way the blueprint is unfolding, the way the transits are activating, and what the true purpose behind them is. So I value Sabian symbols. I think they're important, and I read them when I read astrology. And when you read Sabian symbols, you always round up a degree because energy moves in waves. And so it's like by the time that any 1 degree is being discharged, it's actually already picking up and starting to resonate to the frequencies of the next degree. So we look to the next degree to explain that degree because it's really already activating those like resonance, those frequencies. So just a brief explanation. But anyways, the full moon is happening at 2 degrees of Leo and Aquarius. Now we have to take it back in time. We have to jump back to last December 21st of last year, 2020, when we had the grand conjunction of Jupiter and Saturn in Aquarius. That conjunction was at 1 degree of Aquarius. This full moon is at 2 degrees of Aquarius. So this full moon, by conjunction of the moon and opposition of the sun, is activating, triggering, reactivating that conjunction that happened back then in December of 2020. Now, let's think about this conjunction for a minute. It was Jupiter and Saturn. At that point in time, it was telling us that collectively we were going to be going through a process of reforming our belief systems. Saturn rules forms and structures. Jupiter rules our belief systems. You put the two of them together in Aquarius. Aquarius rules the human collective. So really what this was doing was initiating a process where the human collective is going to be reforming or forming new belief systems. And this full moon that's happening today is reactivating that process. Now remember, for this full moon today, we have both Saturn and Jupiter retrograding. So that means now with this full moon, we are being asked to reform, reevaluate our belief systems that started to form back with the grand conjunction that happened last year at the 1st degree of Aquarius. So this is really triggering and activating things that happened then. You might see them coming back around, and you might see them from a different perspective now, because we have gained a lot of insight and information over the past, 7-8 months, however long it's been since that happened. And it's very possible that we're seeing things from a completely new perspective now. And that is what this moon is doing. One of the things that it's doing is it's asking us to reform our belief systems based on what we know now that can carry us forward. And it's talking about humanity, because it's in that conjunction was in Aquarius, and this full moon is also in Aquarius and Leo. So it's talking about humanity reforming their belief systems to take their power back from the elite or from anyone or anything that has had rulership power over us up until this point in time. So it's being active. And let me just briefly talk about the Sabian symbols of Jupiter and Saturn today, because they're relevant in terms of this reformation of belief systems process. And the position of Jupiter is a crowded public marketplace. The position of Saturn is in a quiet hour, a man receives a new inspiration that may change his life. So really, this re-triggering of the grand conjunction by this full moon today is it's going to be bringing a mass public inspiration being activated that changes minds and lives. The degrees, crowded public marketplace, it's affecting the public, it's affecting a lot of people. And in a quiet hour, a man receives new inspiration that may change his life. A lot of people coming to sort of like epiphanies or having waking up and finding this inspiration, this new way of looking at things, this new perspective, this new attitude that changes their lives. And how does it do that? Well, in Leo and Aquarius, it's through taking back their personal power and realizing the value inherent within their true creative, authentic potential. So this is significant. This is very telling. This is reactivating, like I said, this really powerful conjunction that happened last year. And over the course of this cycle, I think that we're all, a lot of us, we're all collectively going to be being re-inspired about life and finding fresh attitudes, new viewpoints, new ways of looking at things that help us step into our power and as a collective rise again and stop being dominated by rulership classes to the extent that we have been in the past. And again, this isn't just necessarily on the macrocosm of governments and rulerships. This can also apply to anything that has been overpowering us in our own lives, okay? Now, the next thing that I want to talk about is we're going to bring some Vedic astrology in here, because I don't talk about this a lot, but I actually am also like an avid student of Vedic astrology. I find it super relevant and very telling as well. I really like both systems, and a lot of times when I'm doing my research and analysis, I am looking at the Vedic system as well. I speak in terms of Western astrology because I understand it better. I'm more comfortable with it. I've been studying it forever, and I just have a better grasp of it. I feel like it appeals more to the Western mentality, the Western audience, which, I mean, I'm an American. That's like kind of just like the population that I guess I'm most comfortable speaking to, but I really, it's just because of what I am, you know, but I really do also have like so much respect for the sidereal system, and I use it a lot. And one of the main features of it that I absolutely love and I find to be completely just so valuable, is like the way that the signs are broken down into these sub-signs called nakshatras. And each sign essentially is broken into 3 sub-signs called nakshatras. And these nakshatras are so dead on descriptive of the energetics. And I want to talk about the nakshatras today, that are the nakshatra that's being activated. And also I want to look at a fixed star that's being activated as well, because this is giving us more information about the significance of this full moon, the purpose of it, and what it's really translating to, what it means. So we have the full moon happening in the nakshatra that's called Uttara Ashada. And the meaning of this nakshatra is the power of victory and winning for the highest good of all. And again, in the sidereal system, in the Vedic system, this nakshatra actually falls in Capricorn. But when we look at it from the Western perspective, it falls within this degree, the very first few degrees of Aquarius. And it's about winning for the highest good of all. And I feel like that fits well because Aquarius is the all. So truth and what is in humanity's best interest will be victorious, and the full moon is speaking about it by the fact that it is happening in this Uttara Ashada nakshatra. And the nakshatras are super specific, super like accurate, and the fact that it's falling here, I have a lot of faith that this full moon is going to be this process that we're going through with the beginning of this full moon leading into the next full moon is really going to do some things to help the people come to a place where we are able to actually win and gain victory in one way or another. And I think this is going to be, again, in terms of this individual and collective effort that we are all initiating right now to come back into our authenticity, to come back into our personal power, and to take control of our lives back. And the placement of the full moon in this nakshatra Uttara Ashada says that we are going to be victorious with that. Now, also, another thing that I'm looking at is the constellation that this full moon is falling in, and also the fixed star. It is exactly conjunct a very, very powerful ancient fixed star called Altair, which is in the constellation Aquila, which is the constellation of the eagle. And Altair actually falls in the neck of the eagle, and this it's called the star of the flying eagle. And this fixed star is all about great imagination, strong passions, indomitable will, clairvoyance, a keen, penetrating mind, and also hardiness, courage, generosity, and the ability to overcome and to see things from like a bird's eye view, an overall perspective. So we're actually getting eagle eyes this month. And it's, interesting because the full moon, it shines the fullest light. It brings things into a clear vision, and it's the fullest expression of the energy. And so everything is being lit up And we also have eagle eyes this month to see from the highest perspectives and victories coming with this at all. And actually, it's almost exact conjunct this fixed star. That fixed star is at like 1 degree in 47 minutes of Aquarius, and this full moon is falling at 1 degree in 26 minutes of Aquarius. So, and I also think it's interesting, you guys, because the eagle is the symbol of the United States and of America. And it's all, in this eclipse or this full moon is all about the people rising and coming back into their power and overcoming any type of force or power that has been holding them back or placed upon them. And it's conjunct the fixed star of the eagle. So it seems like we're going to definitely be rising and coming back into our power, and we're going to be having a very clear view of what's happened, what's been going on. And this also, considering the context of the fact that this full moon is reactivating that grand conjunction that's asking us to reform our belief systems based on what we've learned and what we've experienced now. I think that we're going to be receiving or getting or gaining, or maybe we already have, but a very clear understanding, bird's eye view of what has gone on, what's happened, that allows us to come back into our, or to start the process of coming back into our personal power and regaining victory over our own lives and our own experiences. So overall, I think that being in this nakshatra, being conjunct almost exactly the fixed star of the eagle, and being in Leo and Aquarius, and also being at that degree that is reactivating that great conjunction, this is literally like profound, and humanity is going to be breaking free with this and flying like the eagle. The next thing that I want to talk about is the aspects that we have going on in effect today alongside of the full moon. There's not too much, but there's, I want to mention some things. First of all, we have Mercury at 22 degrees of Cancer today, which puts him into an almost exact square with the Eris point. The Eris point is liberation at all costs and breaking free of anything that hinders us or holds us back or enslaves us in any type of way. So, and Mercury rules ideas, facts, information, truth. And truth is breaking out with this. So that's another thing. The mind, Mercury, is breaking free from any type of enslavement, square the Eris point. And another thing, this degree, 22 degrees of Cancer, where Mercury is today, making a square to the Eris point, this was the degree where the sun was at when Venus and Mars made their exact conjunction last week. Venus and Mars in conjunction, that conjunction also marked a very important and powerful point in time, telling us that the divine feminine and the divine masculine are going through a process of coming back into reintegration within us. And what that is doing, what that process is doing, is also bringing us back into internal wholeness and helping us come back into our authentic value and our authentic internal power, so that we can overcome and break free from any of these limitations in our lives, so that we can truly begin to express from our authentic creative potential and build and create the lives that we want to live going forward. So again, with Mercury activating this degree where the sun was for the Venus-Mars conjunction and square to the Eris point, we are breaking free from mind control this full moon cycle as well. So I feel like that also fits right into all of the other energetics and is an important feature of today's chart. The full moon, you guys, it is also wedged between Saturn and Pluto. So this process is not going to be easy, and it's totally about, Pluto is control and power dynamics, and Saturn is a long time establishments, like long held ways of doing things, and it's also control and form and structure. So we're breaking free with this full moon of long-term establishments that have controlled and overpowered humanity. But we are sort of like in between a rock and a hard place, with the moon happening in between Pluto, and Saturn. So this process is most likely over the next few months not going to be pretty and not going to be easy. There's potentially a lot of potentially even more pressure and control that may be exerted on us. But if that happens, it's for the purpose of us breaking free from it, with the moon at almost a midpoint in between Saturn and Pluto. That is in a very, very uncomfortable place. We've got Pluto on this side, we got Saturn on this side. Both of them are limiting, both of them are controlling, both of them are overpowering. But the people are being liberated with this at whatever cost it takes, pretty much, is how this seems. But really, it seems like it's going to be more through information. Seems like awareness, awakening with this, and coming to an elevated understanding of things that helps us with this process. Also, though, you guys, we do still have Venus opposing Jupiter for this full moon today, and that is divine protection expanded. And listen to this, the degree of Venus and Venus is a very important planet right now because she's leading all of the other planets, and she's actually making her way to make 3 conjunctions with Pluto, and the last one will be with Mars, and that will be when we are really truly beginning to come back into our full power and the reintegration of the divine feminine and the divine masculine. But until that point, all of the other planets right now are really supporting Venus, and what she's doing is important. And today Venus is at the degree of 3 Virgo, 2 guardian angels bringing protection. So it's not just one guardian angel this time, you guys. We're getting 2. And Jupiter is opposite that, a crowded public marketplace. So it's for the mass of people. It's for the public, and Jupiter expands things. So we are definitely getting an expanded dose of spiritual protection this cycle as we go through this process. And also, Neptune today is retrograding back to 23 degrees of Pisces. And that degree is a materializing medium performing a seance. So again, this triggers us receiving spiritual guidance. Ask for help. Ask to communicate with your guides, with your angels, because that is very, very tangibly available for us now. And both Venus and Neptune are talking about it. And Venus is opposite Jupiter, which expands. So there is tremendous, tremendous, tremendous amounts of divine assistance and potential for us to receive guidance, insight, awareness, intuition, like very clear spiritual messages coming through that help us to go through this process of being re-inspired Saturn and gaining like a new lease on life that helps us come and step into our power and take the power back for the collective of humanity. One more thing in terms of the aspects, the moon, after it makes the full moon, it's in Aquarius, so it will move and it will conjunct Saturn, and it will also trine the North Node. So this is opportunity through risk, because just because of the degrees. First of all, the North Node is an airplane performing a nosedive. The South Node is the golden-haired goddess of opportunity right now. So we need to have courage, we need to take risks, and that will actually provide our golden opportunities in a way that we probably never could have imagined. Also, Saturn, remember, in a quiet hour, a man receives a new inspiration that may change his life. So again, this is about internal reflection, going inside, asking for guidance, asking for spiritual help, spiritual advice, prayer, seeking divine wisdom, and utilizing that, being inspired by that, because it's really leading us in it's leading to opportunities that can truly change our life at this point in time. And the moon will be making those activations after the full moon occurs. So those are really the aspects that are going on alongside the full moon today. And there's one more thing that I want to talk about in terms of the energetics being activated, and that is the Sabian symbols of the degrees of the full moon themselves. The moon is the sun is at 2 degrees of Leo, and that degree is an epidemic of mumps. And this is really about the spreading power of individual crisis, like throughout the collective. Things are spreading. When there's an epidemic of mumps, things are spreading. So, I mean, this could be awakening spreading. But to any type of rulership class, that would feel like a disease. You know what I mean? So it really depends on how you're looking at this. Or generally, there is a chance that we might see some more spreading of like illnesses or whatever this cycle with this epidemic of mumps degree in effect. But generally, this is just about things spreading rapidly. And in the context of everything else, I'm thinking that this is an awakening process. Also, the degree of the moon at 2 degrees of Aquarius, an unexpected thunderstorm. And this is also interesting because there has been a lot of storm symbology in the Sabian symbols lately. The degree of Uranus right now is a man in a rakish silk hat, muffled against the cold, braves a storm. There has been a lot of degrees being activated in the symbols lately. And I've been saying, we should anticipate some type of storm as we move through this process of reintegration, wholeness, coming back into our power. But also, on the flip side of that, the degrees are always indicating that after the storm, there's going to be brilliant sunshine, or there's going to be a rainbow, or all of nature is going to be rejoicing. So it's kind of like there's a storm, we have to get through it, but on the other side, everything is going to be so much more beautiful, so much more brilliant, and it will have been worth it. But the degree of the moon today, an unexpected thunderstorm, this may be, over the next few weeks, the storm that has been being referenced by a lot of the degrees, and actually Uranus still currently at the degree of the man muffling against the cold to protect himself from the storm. So it doesn't need to be unexpected. We can anticipate that, maybe things aren't going to be easy. We might have to brave some metaphorically bad weather, but ultimately it is going to be a rainbow. And the rainbow symbolism also pulls Chiron in, because the Chiron point has been very active lately as well. And this degree is a pot of gold at the end of a rainbow, and it represents the true value, the true self-worth of overcoming difficulties and achieving mastery over circumstances. So this is where we're going. We're overcoming difficulties and we're achieving mastery over circumstances. We just have to get through this storm. So these are kind of, interesting energetics for the polarity of this opposition in context of everything else that's going on. But honestly, I'm really the way I'm reading this in terms of all of the other energetics, it's like an epidemic of mumps. It just really seems like, if you're a rulership class or an elite class or someone trying to maintain power and control, that an awakening would be like an infectious disease that you can't put out. So I'm kind of looking at it in terms of this way. So I found that to be interesting as well. And we have Mars today, speaking of, the light coming after the storm, at 27 degrees of Leo. And this is daybreak, the luminescence of dawn in the eastern sky. So the light is coming back. The light is shining and it's waiting for us. We just have to get through this storm. And, it's just very interesting the way that these energetics are playing out for this full moon today. It's very telling. I mean, bringing it back to the beginning, this is activating the grand conjunction that we had last year, and we are being asked to reform and find the flaws in our belief systems about reality that form our perceptions of reality, and to revise those, to reevaluate based on what we've learned and what elevated viewpoints and understandings, the eagle elevated viewpoints that we've come to now. And we have eagle eyes to see it all. And it is really about the collective of humanity up against the rulership elite class, or us as individuals up against whatever holds us back or we feel enslaved to or overpowered by in our own lives, or even internally within ourselves. And then, when you also bring into it the fact that it's in this Uttara Ushada Nakshatra, victory, winning for the highest good of all, Aquarius, the age of Aquarius. And then we're also talking about Mercury at the degree where the sun was when Venus and Mars joined, had their, you know, symbolic marriage, and set out on this journey to help humanity come back into reintegration and wholeness so that we can step into our full power, so that we can initiate this process of humanity winning, humanity being victorious, and us collectively creating the Age of Aquarius. So I feel like with this full moon, the first one of two that are going to be happening and Leo and Aquarius, this is a very good opportunity for humanity to begin the process of coming back into our power, reforming our belief systems in alignment with what is proper and true for things now. And we're breaking free from any type of mental conditioning, mental programming, subconscious programming that has prohibited us from being able to come into our power up until this point. And again, you know, the full moon is in between that Saturn and Pluto, and it is talking about an unexpected thunderstorm. So I don't think that we have an easy road ahead, but I know that we are going to be victorious. I know that we are going to win, and I know that we are going to come back into our personal power. And I know that this is the process that is necessary in order for us to truly begin the transition from the age of Pisces, the age of following the leader, to the age of Aquarius, the age of self-empowerment and self-mastery. So you guys, that was my video for the full moon, our first full moon in Leo and Aquarius. Super, super, super powerful, energetic for all of us. It's going to be an interesting couple of weeks. We'll have to see how these power dynamics play out. Definitely the collective of humanity versus the rulership power elite class, and humanity really trying to come back into ability to create from our own personal authentic self-expression and stand fully reintegrated in wholeness in our personal power, so that we become the masters of our own reality. So I hope you guys like this video. I think that we have like I said, it'll be very interesting to see how this month plays out. So if you guys liked this video, please give me a thumbs up, subscribe to my channel, share it with your friends if you think they would be interested. Leave me comments. I love your comments. Thank you so, so, so much for watching, and I wish all of you guys a really beautiful full moon. Tune in for my astrological outlook for the day on Monday if you guys want, and I'm going to make a video where I talk about how this full moon is playing out for all of the 12 signs, and when I get that video done, it will be linked in the description box below. Have a beautiful day, everybody. Bye!